It's Monday night, and you know what that means. Jersey First TV proudly brings to you the latest edition of Real Talk. And I am New Jersey's premier and now seven-time, that's right, folks, seven-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, and certainly the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate political commentator. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe. Hoping you're all having a wonderful start to the month. Folks, happy October. As you can tell here on Jersey First TV, we are proud supporters during Breast Cancer Awareness Month. For anyone out there, please get checked out. Please get your mammogram as soon as possible. And certainly this show is proud to partner, of course, with the American Cancer Society coming up on Thursday night, October the 13th at the world-famous Son Cubano in Western New Jersey, right on the waterfront. I'll bring you the 15th annual edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts to benefit making strides against breast cancer. So throughout the entire month of October, folks, we'll be rocking pink here on the show and, of course, on all the Jersey First TV content. Certainly want to thank you all for joining in and tuning in from wherever and however you may be doing so on Facebook Live via StreamYard. Of course, on my backup page, Fernando Uribe Jr. Certainly, folks, Facebook likes to be a pain in the ass when it comes to live streaming. And obviously, we're live here on this page, also on the Jersey First TV YouTube page, and also on my own LinkedIn, Fernando Uribe. And certainly, folks, sharing is caring. Make sure you click the share button right there, whether it's on Fernando Uribe Jr.'s page. Again, you can't miss me. Very handsome guy with a nice blue suit there. And, of course, share it as well from YouTube and also on your LinkedIn. Folks, I can't say enough really about how excited I am for the month of October. Certainly, you know, the NFL's well underway. My Dallas Cowboys again, 3-1. Let me have a little tea here on a Victory Monday. 2 wins in less than a week here. It's feeling good on Monday. Yes, a little victory tea there for my Dallas Cowboys. 1 game out of first place to the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, we'll see in 2 weeks there. See how good the Eagles are when America's team visits downtown Philadelphia. But folks, once again, as always, make sure you check out all of our episodes here on the Jersey First TV website, jerseyfirsttv.org/TV/Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. And folks, before we get to my great guest, again, at the end of the show, we'll select the worst journalist of the week in the state of New Jersey. There's always many to pick from. You know, I'll always have something very amusing and entertaining at the end of the show as we select the worst journalist in New Jersey for this week. But folks, you know, I don't want anyone to say that I'm not compassionate. I don't want anyone to say that I am not someone that cares about my fellow man. But you know what? Over the weekend and maybe for the last couple of weeks, I've been a little concerned. You know, big baseball fan here, fan of the New York Yankees, the 2022 AL Eastern Division champions. And it's funny because on my newsfeed for weeks, I saw people like Uncle Dave, right? David Cruz from NJ Spotlight News, Sleepy Al, you know, Alan Steinberg from Insider NJ, and a lot of, you know, Met fans. You know, there's some classy Met fans, a lot of them. They're sort of not so classy Met fans, tend to be a little insufferable. So for the last couple of weeks, I mean, and even now recently after this weekend, folks, what's going on? I can't seem to find any Met fans anywhere online. I mean, so do me a favor, folks. File a missing persons report with your local precinct. Hopefully they'll put out an APB because I can't seem to find any Met fans online. It's crazy to me. I don't know what's going on. For the last couple, you know, from May until June, July, I mean, all I heard was this chirping on my social media from all my friends from high school and undergrad and graduate school, all these Met fans chirping. And I don't know what happened. I get it. You know, yes, you got that Memorial Day championship. I get it, you know, but folks, it's interesting. I can't find some of these Met fans that have been so loud on my news feed. Again, Alan Steinberg, David Cruz, where are you at? No, I can't find you. Where are you guys at? I'm trying to look over everywhere. I don't know where you guys are at. Again, folks, if you care about them like I do, file a missing persons report because it seems to me we can't find Met fans anywhere lately. I don't know. It might be a serious thing to watch out for. But folks, on a more serious note, again, welcome to the latest edition of Real Talk. We're here with Jersey First TV. Make sure, again, share the episode. Sharing is caring here. And folks, the reason this show continues to do exceptionally well in traffic, all organically, no paid ads, nothing's bought for, all organic, is because of you, my loyal viewing audience. But more importantly, it's the quality of exceptional guests that I continue to get here every single week. And this week is no exception, exclusively here on Real Talk via Jersey First TV. Folks, he is the Statehouse Bureau Chief for NJ 101.5 FM, dire member of Mets Nation. And again, when you check him out, also a devoted fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Folks, an exceptional journalist, Michael Symons, joins us here on Real Talk. Michael, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Again, like I told you, we have a little fun beginning of the show there. So you're a classy Met fan. So again, it doesn't go out to you, but it just seems, Michael, like a lot of Met fans were noisy these last couple of months, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I saw somebody, and I'm apologies to him, whoever had said it on Twitter last night, says nothing prepares you for life better than being a Mets fan.
Oh my goodness!
And that's what we're going through these last couple of weeks and last couple of years.
Listen, I'm intellectually honest enough to say openly, the Yankees aren't going anywhere either. I can admit that. But we'll talk a little baseball. Again, it's October. The Fall Classic is within a couple of weeks. Maybe it's a Subway Series. It's been over 20 years. Maybe we'll get another one. Let's break it down with politics though first, Michael. Right. And again, folks, if you do not check out Michael Symons, I don't know what you're waiting for. Follow him on Twitter, and also make sure, of course, to check out all of his great columns on the NJ 101.5 FM website. I think Michael's an exceptional, very balanced, very neutral reporter. You're not going to know where Michael leans, and I think that's the way we sort of should look at traditional reporting. But Michael, interesting, a column that ran recently. You wrote upon State Senator Edward Durr. We all know that Ed Durr's sort of political capital just skyrocketed after last November, after he defeated State Senate President Steve Sweeney down in LD3. But he's been very loud in the legislature since taking office in January. I know recently you wrote a very insightful article about legislation that he introduced into the chamber. I doubt it'll go to any committee. It seems like, I think you wrote over 100 bills I think he's introduced. Not one is going to see the light of day in Trenton. Let's separate fact from fiction. A lot of people are sort of hysterical about what Edward Durr did. What are the facts here, Michael?
So he introduced a bill that is a lot like the legislation that has been introduced in other states relative to transgender health care for youth and putting restrictions on that. And as you say, it's very unlikely to get a hearing, but it's a topic of interest. So we wrote up a story about it.
Now, when we look at, and again, and what caught my eye though, Michael, really is the idea that, NJ 101.5 FM, again, as its entity. I mean, it's a great morning show. Obviously I know Bill Spadia, other hosts there, they get a lot of flack from people that lean left in New Jersey, but you're the Statehouse bureau chief. You're writing columns, you're covering New Jersey, you're covering the Statehouse, you're covering New Jersey politics. Is there a challenge at times for you to sort of not separate yourself, again, because you're under the umbrella, but do people sometimes give you unnecessary scorn because, again, you're under the NJ 101.5 FM umbrella? When you're just doing reporting, you're not a talk show host. You're not doing opinion journalism like I am. Does that get frustrating sometimes, Drew?
Sure. I mean, there's certainly a lot of people who probably hold that opinion. It makes it my job to be as down the middle and accurate as possible to try to dissuade people of that notion. But I can't control whether that's what they think. I mean, to a certain extent, it was the same in my past days. I spent most of my career in newspapers, and so Gannett newspapers, Home News Tribune, Trenton for the Gannett group. So the Asbury Park Press was, for most of that time, kind of the most well-known among them. And they have an editorial page. And so there would be people who would sometimes hold it against me what the editorials were written about as well. So in that regard, it's not much different. 101.5 obviously has a lot of people with strong opinions. And so the news division is separate from that. And hopefully people can differentiate between the two. Early in Governor Murphy's term, there was a controversy where people were mad at some of the hosts at the radio station. And after an event, he pulled me to the side and said, look, I understand that there is a distinction between what you and David Mathau and Dino Flammia do, what the news side of things does, and the opinion side. So some people can make that distinction. Other people, I guess, either choose not to or cannot. And all I can do is try to do my job the best I can.
No, absolutely. And again, folks, if you don't check out Michael's work, I mean, online, I suggest you do. So he's a great writer, very insightful, very concise as well. But what really stood out for me, though, Michael, again, and the reason I bring up this article is because I know last week, right after publishing it, Insider NJ's insufferable virtue signaler, Jay Lasseter, of course, had to sort of, I guess, tag you or mention you on a tweet. And I'll sort of read it real quick here. He writes, at Michael Symons _ on Twitter, Ed Durr's bill is going nowhere despite your very detailed depiction of what that DOA legislation would do. In fact, the principal thing articles like this accomplish is to make trans kids hate themselves. I can understand the station's desire to turn the page from defending teachers who literally, not figuratively, F their students. Oh my God, right? But I'm here to remind you that one-sided reporting like yours actually harms people. If you're curious about cultivating a list of sources who are actually transgender, I can help. I know I'm not a real reporter. Really, Jay? Spoiler alert. We all know that. Like you are, but including actual transgender voices in an article devoid of the trans issues seems sensible and reasonable. I thought that was an unnecessary shot at you. There was nothing one-sided about your reporting, though, Michael. Again, and I know that, bitching and moaning is like breathing for Jay Lasseter, but I took exception to that. I know you have a thick skin, but I felt that was a very unfair shot at you when all you do is just simply report the facts in your columns.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a deeper dive into the issue, then certainly all those voices would have been considered. And so that part is valid. I mean, that those voices weren't in the story. So if, that part of it, I understand what he's saying. Some of the rest of what he said in there, I know to be untrue. So, such as, he's entitled to his own opinion. I mean, I got a private email from somebody criticizing me from the opposite direction for the story, saying, you described this as healthcare, and in this person's view, it's harmful, and therefore it's not healthcare. And so, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and they can either voice it publicly or they can voice it in a private email. And, down the road, I may take Jay up on his offer to help connect me with people. If the topic becomes one that continues and gets more attention.
Absolutely. And again, certainly, Michael, and folks, if you're just joining us right now at 6:12 here on the East Coast on Jersey First TV, my guest here tonight, live on Real Talk, is the distinguished Statehouse Bureau Chief for NJ 101.5 FM, Michael Symons, here joining us on Jersey First TV. Quite a mouthful there to sort of get that all out in one shot, though, for sure. Michael, again, sort of getting back to your premise, and I know you're taking the high road here, and you're a gentleman like that. But does it seem that even journalism like this is getting excessively tribal? Where, again, I have my personal beef with Jay Lasseter, which is why I like picking on him. But it just seems like, stuff like this is unnecessary. Because the first instinct that came to my mind was, well, aside from Jay lives to bitch and moan about everything and anything, it just seems like if you're not writing a column the way he sees fit, that's it. He just feels the need to take a shot at you. And I just think that's unnecessary tribalism that exists in today's journalism. Is that fair to say, Michael?
I think it's probably beyond journalism to almost everything that goes on right now. So it's not exclusive to how people see journalists, but people even before the last 5, 10, 15 years have had very strong opinions about journalists and not generally positive opinions about journalists. Sure. So, it kind of, not to duck the question, but it comes with the territory. And I'm not a public figure in the way that I'm an elected official, but I do have a bit of a public profile. So as people say things on one side or the other, I really wouldn't sleep much at night if I let it all bother me. But, there was a morsel of constructive criticism in it. And so that's what I'll take from it. Absolutely.
Again, it's, we'll let the readers at home decide, but very, very well written piece for sure. Again, detailing State Senator Durr's introduction of the legislation. And as you said, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm realistic. I don't think, this is not Florida or Texas or other states where there doesn't seem to be this sort of overwhelming monopoly by one party in the legislature like there is here in New Jersey. I mean, Democrats have run both chambers for over 20 years almost. I know that there were some gains last November. I believe we had like 7 new Republican Assembly women enter the legislature. We know Ed Durr's win was big. We'll get to the 2023 legislative cycle a little bit later. I'm going to get your thoughts on that. But, we sort of talk about why this curriculum continues to be a controversy. And certainly I think parents statewide are taking to social media. And even more so, last week I had a Rise NJ's chairman on, Josh Akins. It seems like school board elections this year in New Jersey are really under the microscope, though, Michael. I mean, it seems like now more than ever, where people wouldn't look at school board elections as significant, man, they are really, really, I think, hot topics right now, not just on regular print media and online media like yourself, but I think even social media too.
Certainly more than usual. I mean, the story typically with school board races is that there's essentially one candidate for each opening, and there's not much to it. So there's definitely interest in it, and obviously that curriculum is part of what's driving a lot of that. So I don't know how it'll turn out in terms of like shakeups on school boards and whether it elects people who in the past wouldn't have gotten elected or wouldn't have run. But yeah, it's not as sleepy. It's also partially a symptom of the election having moved to November. This used to be an April election, which was very low turnout, didn't get a ton of attention. And now, I mean, it might be one of the drawbacks potentially, I guess, of moving it to November is that it becomes more partisan. I mean, it's good that more people participate in it and that more people pay attention to it. But in terms of the temperature being turned up on everything in society, now that becomes part of that as well.
I mean, it certainly is not a presidential election year. It's not even a U.S. Senate election year. Again, it's all House races are up for grabs, which we'll touch upon a little bit later. But yes, you're right. I think that's going to certainly mobilize turnout because people, I think, feel very energized during this midterm election season. Maybe not up by me because it's very blue, but, you know, down by Central and South Jersey, some competitive races, which we'll get to in a moment. Michael, you're a parent, and I know that this curriculum certainly continues to, again, create a lot of controversy. Not to sort of intrude too much, but is this a conversation in the Symons household that has been discussed? And like, how are you approaching this? And how are you looking at really the outrage about this curriculum that some parents would say was just sort of shoved through during COVID? It seems like the governor is going to be very, very tyrannical in making sure that all the school districts in New Jersey, in all 21 counties, are going to abide by this. If not, it sounds like there could be some consequences by the DOE in Trenton. Have you had those discussions at home? I mean, again, I don't want to sort of put you on the spot here about how you feel about it, but is this a sort of an unsettling conversation for parents like yourself?
Well, I think that to the extent that it ensures that parents have this conversation with their kids, that would be good. I mean, it's a topic that might get skipped otherwise. And I think that's part of the reason for the interest in having schools step in on this is that there's not necessarily a lot of knowledge being shared about this all the time. Sometimes there's conversations, sometimes there's not. So if, perhaps if more parents are having this conversation with their kids because they don't want the school to be having it, perhaps at least there will be more of this talk being had.
It seems like, again, this has become a very tribal issue. And again, getting back to the school board elections, I mean, it seems like this is front and center for a lot of school board elections, if not all of them in New Jersey, about how this curriculum is going to be implemented. We know it's been implemented slowly but surely. The school year just started all across New Jersey. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in just a few weeks, really. Actually, maybe.
Yeah, I think it varies, right? Some districts will start this sooner in the year. Like districts have a lot of say over how they do this and when they do this. So I don't know exactly when in different school districts this will come up. I think it'll be interesting to see how this plays out over the course of time. Like when the new state standardized tests went into effect during the Christie years, people were outraged about it and wanting to opt their kids out of it. And it was a big cause for a certain amount of time and then faded a bit as people kind of said, oh, is that all there is? So I'll be interested to see once this happens in the real world, if people do find this to be truly offensive or if people kind of take on that wasn't as much as I thought it was going to be sort of attitude.
No, good points, Michael. And I think, let me just add something to that. I think it's going to be a very interesting game of political chicken because it seems like the governor, along with the DOE, has been very adamant about, hey, there's going to be some consequences here if school districts don't abide. It'll be very interesting, I think, to maybe differentiate which school districts are going to really take a stand here, again, after these school board elections, and whether or not some school districts are just going to say to Trenton, you know what, we're going to call your bluff. We're not going to implement this. This goes against the will of the school board and the trustees are not in favor of it. I think it's going to be very, very interesting what's going to happen in Trenton if some school boards just want to be defiant against the DOE, the Department of Education, and the governor. Again, I think it's hard to handicap that race right now or that fight, but I think it'll be very, very, very interesting to see which side blinks first, Michael, obviously.
Yeah, it could. I mean, at this point, it may be positioning. I mean, there's, as the state puts it, there's an obligation to teach the standards, and this is one of them. So the state would argue that we're not telling you how, that you've got a lot of leeway in what you do there, but the districts don't have the leeway to just say, no, we're not going to do it.
Again, very interesting to see what happens in the next few weeks and months ahead, obviously, as the curriculum starts being rolled out in different districts and, as you mentioned, different counties all throughout the state. We'll get back to your great columns in a moment, Michael. I really want to pick your brain. Midterms are a little over a month away. Where I live up here in CD8, I mean, it's as blue as the Giants end zone last night, at MetLife Stadium. Right next door in CD5, same thing. Josh Gottheimer, another safe seat for the Democrats. Again, like I mentioned here in CD8, Rob Menendez Jr. will be succeeding retiring Representative Albio Ceres, certainly the son of senior United States Senator Robert Menendez. West of Josh Gottheimer, another safe seat, I would argue, for Democrats, Bill Pascrell, probably Donald Payne Jr. But I think even west of them and even south of them in Central and South Jersey, respectively, though, Michael, some competitive seats here, seats that I think Republicans, and again, historically, next to 2002 under George W. Bush, that midterm election, Republicans held the House and actually added seats. Same thing in 1934 under President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, where Democrats held the House and added some seats as well. It tends to be the opposing party wins the House. I don't know about the Senate, but that's historically what's going to happen. I, for one, again, as an opinion journalist, I would love nothing more than to see Nancy Pelosi get shown the door as House Speaker. I'd like to see Kevin McCarthy. That's me. But some comparative House races in Central and South Jersey, Michael. Again, Republicans sometimes see the end zone, they see the goal line, but they could easily fumble the ball out of bounds and maybe lose some momentum. Which South seats do you think are probably where Democrats are most vulnerable?
So, yeah, I've done some articles on this over the course of the year. And so political scientists say that the district that is most likely to flip is the 7th district, where Tom Malinowski is the incumbent, Tom Kean Jr., the former state senator in the state assembly, and before that is the Republican nominee. So they ran against each other 2 years ago in an environment that was better for Democrats, and Malinowski only won by 1 percentage point or so. And the environment would favor Kean, as well as redistricting. They made that that district, as they redrew the boundaries all around the state, some districts got safer for Democrats. Josh Gottheimer's district added a lot of Democratic voters. Mikey Sherrill's district added a lot of Democratic voters. The way that Andy Kim's district got redrawn, he gained some security in that respect. But Malinowski's district went the other way. And the district now took in parts of Warren County, for instance, that are very Republican. And so both redistricting and the overall environment favor Kean. So that is seen as the district most likely to flip. Probably the second most likely would be Andy Kim's district, the third. He's on paper, he's certainly favored, but the district picks up a lot of new territory that might not be familiar with him. It doesn't go as far into South Jersey and comes further up more towards Central Jersey now, which probably helps him because South Jersey is becoming increasingly Republican. And so for him to kind of shed some of the area in Ocean County that he currently represents and pick up some parts of Mercer, Monmouth, I think Middlesex as well, if I'm not mistaken. He's not in the clear. Certainly his opponent is well funded, so that'll be a race, but he's probably rated as the second most vulnerable Democratic incumbent.
No, good points there. And I would just add, though, Michael, that in 2020, it was actually, let's go back to 2018 when a lot of these seats went blue. I mean, it was easy for Democrats during that midterm election. They had a boogeyman, right? The 45th president. was easy to run on that message. And seats that were red flipped blue, right? We saw Malinowski, we saw Andy Kim, other seats as well. Mikey Sherrill's seat, turned blue. It just seems like, okay, there was that boogeyman in 2018. Well, he's not there anymore. As much as the left in New Jersey wants to make him as present as possible, the way that, and I get that supposedly some polling has the president polling better. I don't think so. It's still a kitchen tables issue election, Michael. I think it's affordability. Can people afford groceries? Inflation is still a problem. I love how they formulated legislation, the Inflation Reduction Act, which does, in my opinion, does nothing to reduce inflation. But that's a topic for another show. But it just seems like these are the issues. Gas prices are still high. This nonsense. Well, gas prices are at its lowest for X amount of weeks. They should have never been this high to begin with. But it just seems like these are the kitchen table issues that Republicans can run on. We know nationally it can work. It's working in a lot of districts. But here in New Jersey, again, by me, it's very solidly blue. Same thing with Josh Gottheimer. He's going to win that race, I think. Maybe not easily, but he's going to win that. I think the numbers favor him. He has a good mechanism and apparatus in place. Same thing with Bill Pascrell. I just think that these kitchen table issues, Michael, really, I think are going to overwhelm voters and really make them sort of vote with their pockets, as opposed to whether it's I interviewed Paul DeGroot recently on this show, her Republican challenger. I think I get it that overturning Roe versus Wade has everybody up in an uproar and hysteria. I still think it's kitchen table issues. It's the economy. Can you afford groceries? Can you afford to feed your family? Drive to work? I think those are the items in this race for the midterms I think are going to govern. I get abortion's important to some people. I get it. But New Jersey, abortion's codified here. There's no risk whatsoever, ladies. Calm down about your right to reproductive rights are under attack. They're not. I think that the economy might be the determining factor, though, Michael, as opposed to abortion. Your thoughts on this?
That could be the case. It's interesting how essentially the two parties are basically running in almost entirely different elections. They're all on the same ballot, but Democrats are talking about one set of issues, Republicans are talking about another, and they're basically talking about them through different media outlets as well. So there's almost not a shared election experience going on, and it's kind of weird and disconcerting. There's also in New Jersey not a statewide race, so we don't even all have the same candidates on the ballot, and so it's a peculiar election this year. I haven't actually talked to pollsters to find out if they're going to do any polling on House races, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's not public polling done on the House races this year. They're hard to, polling has become difficult. And so maybe they'll do polling just to sort of test whatever tweaks they're trying to make their polling more accurate. But I think there's going to be a lot of kind of going blind into election day and need to be prepared for any eventuality.
No, great points there. And again, to your reference about polling, absolutely. I don't trust polls as much as I trust Stevie Wonder driving sometimes, right? Because it's unbelievable. I mean, you look at the Rutgers-Eagleton poll today, where abortion is going to be the number one issue on the ballot, as opposed to the Monmouth poll, talk about the economy. I think you said it perfectly. I think it's going to come up to really almost game day, right? You leave the locker room, it's game day, you go to the polls, and I think that's how people are going to look at. People are going to look at their pockets. People might look at reproductive issues. I think it's really a game day decision. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, it's about motivation, right? And so Democrats, as the thought process went, lacked motivation until Roe v. Wade got overturned, and then they had something to motivate them. To the extent that people view inflation through what they see as they pass the gas station, some of the edge got taken off that. Now the gas is $3.50 or so a gallon rather than $5 a gallon. So, but then, if you've looked at your 401k at the end of the third quarter, then you're probably focused back on the economy as an issue. So, 5 weeks, it's not just a saying this time. 5 weeks is literally a lifetime in politics, and we'll see
really
what's the burning issue at that time.
It really, really is. I mean, a lot can happen between now and November the 8th. Michael, over the weekend, former Governor Tom Kean referenced, obviously, a lack of willingness by his son to talk to a lot of media outlets. I know Paul DeGroot Mikey Sherrill's Republican challenger in CD11, was on this show, I think, just last week. 2 weeks ago, he was on this show. We talked about sort of his unwillingness to talk to the liberal media. And I'm someone that, while I do opinion journalism, I'm pretty much the only openly conservative person out there doing media, among maybe a couple others, not many. But it seems like there are some gripes by whether it's Paul DeGroot, Tom Kane Jr., pundits, commentators about sort of this monopoly that the liberal media has on the media echo chamber, not just nationally, but also statewide. And it's unfortunate, because I think that, yes, I think candidates want to go and talk to NJ Spotlight News, Insider NJ, the Star Ledger, NorthJersey.com. But Michael, again, my frustration is that we're not always getting balanced coverage, or maybe sandbagging reporting by some of these news outlets. I know you don't do that. I know NJ 101.5 FM doesn't do that either in the news department. But can we get past this, though, where maybe candidates will feel comfortable maybe talking to the media again? Or again, is that just another example of the tribalism we're living in?
I hope we can get past it, because I think it's better for everyone to have more information out there and talk to a variety of outlets. I mean, I assume that it's almost a political decision, because it's appealing to supporters to say, I'm not going to talk to this group because they are the liberal media. So there might be a little bit of politics to it. But I mean, I haven't met all these candidates, but I've met some of them. I've seen some of them talk. They're all, perfectly capable of explaining their views on things, and hopefully wouldn't be reluctant to get that view out to some more people. But in a turnout election, as we kind of talked about a couple of minutes ago, if it's not a persuasion election, and you're not trying to persuade people in the middle, and you don't think you can persuade people who consume another form of media, then you're going to stick to, basically your base and speaking to them. And maybe the way to speak to them is through ads or through town halls or whatever calculation gets made. But it's just, it's unfortunate for democracy not to be, not to sound Pollyannish about it, but, hopefully we can get to a point where, where they would feel comfortable doing those interviews, and, Phil Murphy would feel comfortable doing an hour call-in show on New Jersey 101.5.
That would be something to see, I think, for sure. I don't know if we'll see that anytime soon. Speaking of the governor, I'm glad you brought him up. It's interesting, though, Michael. I know that there's a lot of whispers out there. Obviously, people I talk to, operatives, some consultants that I get their ear at times, and I'll talk to them. And it just, again, I don't know where people are getting this idea. I understand that, the president has openly said he will be running once again in 2024. I sincerely doubt that Governor Murphy is going to challenge him in a primary. But what's really interesting, again, and we're seeing sort of like the evolution of a look, right? He's letting his hair grow out. He's wearing more ties now. He's wearing jackets, button-down shirts, as opposed to Skechers sneakers and shoes. I'm sorry, when you look at the way, and this is my opinion, right? Because I'm very biased about Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott, two great governors in my opinion. I think on a national level, though, Michael, I think Governor Murphy's going to have a really, really tough time. I get it. He's not going to challenge, President Biden in 2024. So that means he'll have to wait until his term is over in 2025. And subsequently, he'll have to try to remain somewhat relevant until 2028. And by then, we're going to learn about everything he's done in New Jersey over 8 years. Again, there's a lot to dissect about the governor. I think he got a lot of things wrong on COVID. He tried this sort of one-size-fits-all approach as opposed to a regional approach, like other governors did, and they got it right. I just think it's somewhere Woodrow Wilson is in his grave. I think he's safe knowing that he'll be the only New Jerseyan ever to be elected to the presidency, though, Michael. I don't know why consultants are feeding these sort of pipe dreams into the governor's head.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what his intentions are, but as you say, I mean, if President Biden runs, not just Governor Murphy, I don't think I shouldn't say any, somebody may challenge him in a primary, but I don't think anybody with a strong profile in the Democratic Party necessarily would run against him. So it's too soon to know. And then if it's an open seat, I don't know if he gets in at that point. But
does the governor have a good national profile? I would argue he doesn't.
Not really. I mean, I think that a lot of in the party, people know him. Certainly, I mean, in addition to being governor and now in his second term, some of the stuff he does with the National Governors Association, Democratic Governors Association. He used to be the fundraising chief for the Democratic National Committee, so knows a lot of people from that.
Yeah, for the governors, the Democratic Governors Association.
And the Democratic National Committee back in the day. He did work there, and so he definitely knows people. I've read, I think Politico reported that he's hosting a Democratic National Committee fundraiser at his house later this week that the president, I think, is going to. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what's going to happen down the road? But if Biden runs, Murphy's not.
Yeah, I think that's as clear as day. And I think, again, if we're waiting until 2028 for Phil Murphy to run for president, again, I don't like the national profile. There's a lot to dissect about New Jersey that people can really roast him on, even people within his own party. Because, it even gets tribal during those primaries. We saw that back in 2020 when Democrats were sort of like knocking each other off during those primaries. It'd be interesting to see. Michael, back to your great columns here. I know a column you published recently also as well via beachradio.com. State Senator Michael Testa talking about that it's disturbing that the state lacks a plan for sort of these pop-up parties that tend to surface during the summer. Now, again, for residents at home watching right now and don't understand, these are just pop-up parties that I think sort of surface around shore towns. They can be very rambunctious. They can be quite ratchet, to be honest with you, a little ghetto in my opinion. But it seems like maybe there isn't enough of a mechanism, though, Michael, for these municipalities to really contain them where they can get out of control real fast.
Sure. I mean, some people describe them as riots. Pop-up party is a weird phrase for it because it infers that there's a certain amount of spontaneity to it, and there's really not. I mean, these are promoted through social media, so there's not a permit, so to speak, for them to come, but there's basically through social media a lot of attention to say, like, let's get hundreds, or let's get many hundreds or 1,000 or more people to basically all descend on a town, and different towns have had to deal with this over the course of the year. Wildwood recently in this car rally, and a couple of people died because things got out of hand, and that's the one that Senator Testa was talking about, that there needs to be better coordination in some way between state, county, locals to prepare for these things. I think Wildwood thought they knew what they had coming because this event had been held in Maryland previously. So I think they thought it was going to be one thing, and then it turned out to be something beyond what they could control. I'm particularly, a lot of the Wildwood is, from Memorial Day through Labor Day, it's a huge destination, but the other times of the year, it's a pretty small town.
It is. And it's, when we look at a tsunami of people coming by and it becoming very rowdy, very ratchet, in my opinion, very ghetto too. I mean, it puts this small municipality at such a disadvantage where they have to rely, again, maybe the county sheriff, state police, and maybe they don't get there in time. And it's such a frustrating thing, I think, for residents that live in these nice towns down the shore, all the way down South Jersey, like you referenced. I mean, is there any real way to maybe combat this in the legislature? Have you heard about any legislation maybe that's on the horizon that's going to help tackle this, or is it just a seasonal problem?
I don't think people are throwing their hands up about it. I mean, there's talk about increasing the penalties for people who organize these sorts of things. I mean, you almost need to prepare for it, I guess, as if it's an official event. And if you've over prepared for it and you've brought police in, that becomes the thing. Like if they had said, this is going to get out of hand, we need the state police to send 200 people down here for this event, and then it turned out to be nothing, then you've had people completely turn over where they've got people stationed. They have a bunch of people working on overtime. In this case, they're working overtime and going to the far southern end of the state. So it's probably, logistically difficult to plan for these. But in a way, it's almost like if you evacuate before a hurricane and then the hurricane didn't hit you and then you get upset about it. Well, the alternative is, what's happening right now in, Fort Myers.
Listen, it's better to be safe than sorry. Absolutely. Good coverage on that story. Michael, before I let you go, I will be remiss not to sort of ask you, because I love the background you have whenever you appear on any sort of commentating shows, obviously as a reporter, but I am also a devoted fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Obviously, when that direct deposit comes out of my checking account for Disney Plus, I'm very happy. Certainly, all the Marvel movies that we can. Certainly, last week, I don't know how excited you were, but I am a devoted fan of Deadpool, knowing that now Wolverine and Hugh Jackman will be appearing in the third edition of Deadpool. I almost lost my mind last week on Twitter. Big fan of the MCU. When did your affinity and your fandom start for the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Was it sort of like, being the typical guy growing up loving Captain America, or was it Tony Stark and Iron Man, or was it Thor, or was it Bruce Banner with Hulk? Where did the fandom start?
Right. So, I mean, certainly growing up, watched different movies, but in terms of the MCU movies, it didn't start for my family until the pandemic. And basically, while we were all shut in at the start of 2020, we said, okay, we're going to watch these in order, and figured out not even the order that they were released in, but like the story order. So
correct. Yes. Chronologically. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so we went through them and either, watched them on Disney Plus or, bought the ones that weren't available there because of that whole crazy thing with the Hulk movies and all that. So, so we set out during the pandemic. So that was the one productive thing that happened because of COVID, is that I caught up with the rest of the world on my Marvel movies.
Now, I'm sure maybe we're around the same age, but again, for us growing up, I mean, our exposure to Marvel was pretty much reruns of the great Incredible Hulk series from the 1970s with Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno. Obviously, the Spider-Man 70s TV show, the cartoons growing up, the Wolverine, X-Men. I mean, those are things that we grew up on. But tangibly, going back to 2008, when Iron Man first hit the theaters, 2006, with Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man 1, and that started the chain reaction of the MCU. And we started seeing movies, right? 2008, we saw 2007, I think, was maybe the Thor, or I'm not sure. 2008 was the Incredible Hulk movie with then Edward Norton. And then we started seeing the Avengers. Then we started seeing, obviously, Captain America, the first Avenger. I mean, I'm sort of maybe going out of order here. But the point is that it was such an amazing journey. It was really like almost 12 years of films that got us through the first Avengers, then Age of Ultron, Infinity War, and now, obviously in 2019, Endgame. I don't know about you, Michael. It broke my heart because I love Tony Stark. To see Iron Man die, it broke my heart. I get it. I was happy to see Steve Rogers get his happy ending with Peggy, and that was wonderful. I just didn't like the way Endgame concluded with Iron Man dying, but you know what? Maybe he had to die. The one guy that was maybe the most selfish turned out to be the most selfless in saving the universe.
Well, there were 14 million ways that could have ended, and that was the only one that worked.
Exactly, right? Doctor Strange, and I'll never forgive Doctor Strange. He could have warned Tony, but but that's just my pet peeve. Now, again, we've seen what's happening with streaming services, though, Michael, like Disney Plus. We've seen shows since Avengers Endgame, whether it be WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, now the She-Hulk. Listen, I can't get enough Marvel as far as I'm concerned. But is there a risk, man, as fans, that maybe there could be overkill a little bit, maybe, or a little oversaturation?
There probably is. I mean, the Marvel shows are one at a time, but now they've got Andor, the Star Wars movie, the Star Wars series at the same time, and I know I'm now behind on both. So,
same as I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Are you as well, or?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm with you, and I love Star Wars. Listen, if you put on TNT on the weekends, there seems to be a Star Wars marathon every weekend on TNT. I'm fine with it. As I'm ironing to go out, eating dinner, I love seeing Star Wars. But again, I think to your point, there could be an oversaturation. We love Rogue One when it came out in theaters. I think arguably maybe top 5 of all the Star Wars movies, though, Michael. Rogue One, I think, is in my top 5, along with Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, Revenge of the Sith. But now, obviously, we've seen the Book of Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, right, where everybody lost their mind about, Baby Yoda. I forgot. Is it? I forgot the
Grogu.
Grogu. Thank you. My God, forgive me, Star Wars fans. I should know that. But whether it was the Mandalorian or now Andor, it just seems that, again, I love Star Wars, Michael, but I'm really afraid of, again, oversaturation. When is too much too much?
Yeah, I think that they probably do think about that. Here, I'll point this out, and this is proof that we're not actually the same age and that I'm way older than you. I saw the original Star Wars like at a drive-in movie theater when I was a kid, and probably saw the original Star Wars like 6 or 7 times when it came out. But I'm old enough that I was going to see that in the theaters.
I don't know, Michael. You don't look a day over 35, bro. You have kept your looks, my man. I'm telling you, man, you've kept your looks, dude. You don't look a day over 35 as far as I'm concerned. So let me put that out there for our audience there. So definitely, before I let you go, I know you're also a big baseball fan. I appreciate you. You know, it's all in good fun at the start of the show about the Mets. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm realistic. The Yankees aren't going to go anywhere. We have an atrocious manager. A really bad in-game manager as far as I'm concerned. Can't say the same about Buck Showalter. It seems like, there was a collision course sometime over the summer about, hey, maybe it's a Subway Series. Maybe we get to relive 2000 all over again. I don't see it with the Yankees. I think they have a tough road in the American League. The Mets really have fallen off. Yeah, they'll make the playoffs, but, winning the East could have gotten them a first-round bye. Now they'll have to play in the wild card round on the road, maybe having to go to San Diego. I get it. You got Scherzer and DeGrom going in a series. That puts you in an incredible position. But are you concerned about your Mets and really how they've fallen off in the last maybe 5-6 weeks?
Well, if you compare them to where they were in May and June, it's disappointing. But if you remember where they were last year, they're a lot better off than they were. Pitching wins championships. And I'd like to say they have the pitching, although they didn't this weekend against Atlanta. So maybe that was their one round of having some clunkers, and then they'll be back to normal come the playoff time.
And listen, credit to the Braves. They played out of their minds, I think, since June 1st, too. I mean, look at their record. I mean, credit to them. They're the reigning defending world champions, right? So until someone knocks them off, we got to see what happens, though. Michael, before I let you go, man, I really appreciate your time. Again, I've seen you on multiple shows, whether it's Reporters Roundtable. I'm not a hater. I mean, I'm not a fan of Uncle Dave, but I watch it because it's important to watch other journalists. It's important to study your craft, to watch other journalists when they opine on shows and talk about the political climate. I have an enormous amount of respect for you. I love your writing. I read you as often as possible. I appreciate the follow back on Twitter. That's very gracious of you. Thank you. You don't have to do that. But you're a great guy for coming on here. I think I've really enjoyed our conversation. I certainly want to get you back on maybe closer to Election Day, if not maybe after Election Day, to do a breakdown of what happened on November the 8th. So, again, I really appreciate your time. I thank you for coming on. And I'll give you the last word here on Real Talk here tonight on Jersey First TV.
No, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for kind of seeing me as a down-the-middle journalist and understanding the difference between the news side and the opinion side at the radio station.
And Michael, again, I get it. I can be a very opinionated, bombastic conservative, but I'm not that bad, man. Again, I think we had a great conversation today. I look forward to having you back on. Is that a deal?
Sounds good. Thank you.
God bless you, man. Stay well. And folks, he's Michael Symons, the Statehouse Bureau Chief for NJ 101.5 FM. Here joining us on Real Talk. Michael, God bless you. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Folks, again, great episode there with Michael Symons. Certainly, if you do not have a chance to follow him on Twitter, do so at Michael Symons _. Great columnist. And, he raises a really good point, because I think that for anyone that operates under that umbrella of a news site and a website, a radio station like NJ 101.5 FM, it's easy to sort of conflate the two and say, well, I don't like Michael Symons because he works. Well, again, he's a great reporter. Look at his columns. He's balanced. He's down the middle. He just reports on what's going on. And I get it that insufferable virtue signalers like Jay Lassiter, bitching and moaning is like breathing for this guy. And I get it that, you want to take a shot at Michael, but Jay, come on, do better, bro. That's a classless thing to do. If Michael was specializing in opinion journalism, that's one thing. He doesn't do that. Just reports the facts. He's covering the state of New Jersey for NJ 101.5 FM for the news division. That's all he's doing. Is he writing the way that you may not like? Well, too bad. Again, he's going to write columns the way he sees fit. But more importantly, folks, objectively, just reporting the news and information. And you make your own determination. Okay? You make your own determination whether or not you like the way Michael reports or whether he doesn't. I happen to like it. Now, again, maybe I sort of cherry-picked one example with Jay Lassiter because, again, he loves to bitch and moan. That's all he's good for, apparently, right? But bad move by you, Jay. You should know better. I mean, come on, man. You're a grown-ass man already. Taking shots at Michael Symons for not reporting on a story the way you like it. Come on, bro. It's like a kid not getting that extra scoop of ice cream during dessert. You need to do better, Jay. Folks, again, if you're just tuning in right now, always check out Real Talk via Jersey First TV at their website, jerseyfirsttv.org/TV/Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. If you're just joining us right now on this rainy Monday night here, again, as we start the month of October, again, as you can see behind me, and of course, I'm rocking the pink here this week and all month long for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Again, donate what you can, folks, to the American Cancer Society, and more importantly, making strides against breast cancer. Certainly coming up on Thursday night, October the 13th at Son Cubano up by me in Hudson County. The 15th edition of A Professor's Quest to Save Breasts will come to you from Son Cubano. Great raffle prizes. A suggested donation of $10 at the door is greatly appreciated. DJ, great networking opportunities. Maybe some surprises along the way, though, folks. Make sure you mark it on your calendars. But more importantly, folks, let's do what we can to raise awareness about breast cancer during the month of October. It's also Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so you get to rock some purple. Do that as well all throughout the month of October. Folks, before I let you go, obviously, to no one's surprise, it's time. You know what it's time for. This week's winner of the worst journalist in the state of New Jersey. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, when we talk about bad journalism, yes, we can always rely on the Star Ledger. I think you know where I'm going with this. And certainly over the weekend, it seemed like Tommy Boy, Tom Moran, got his panties in a bunch, apparently, with former Governor Tom Kean, taking him to task and sort of singling him out as it pertains to his brand of journalism. Now, I get it that, we're both in the opinion business. Will I do opinion journalism on a weekly reputable show like this that gets very good traffic? I understand that Tom Moran does opinion journalism and editorials for the Star Ledger. But what was really interesting for me, folks, looking at Tom Moran here, and what I thought was very, very interesting here is sort of the whiny tone that he had over the weekend about former Governor Kean. Now, he titles his article, Former Governor Kean, an icon to me, and he should be because he's one of the classier people to ever be governor in the state of New Jersey. Sucker punches me with a low blow. Wow. I'm not going to read you this insufferable column here, but for the most part, this was really, really funny. Tom Moran starts off writing, in a job like mine, in a time like this, I take a lot of guff from hostile strangers. So much that it doesn't bother me anymore. Not much anyway. But today the barbs came from Governor Tom Kean, former Governor Tom Kean, a man I deeply respect. I've shared many meals with him and spoken to him on matters large and small dozens of times over the years. His fury towards me is a result of my pointed criticism of his son, Tom Kean Jr., who is running for Congress against Representative Tom Malinowski, the Democratic incumbent in the 7th Congressional District. Take a look at our endorsement in the race tomorrow, and you'll see why I don't think highly of the son. But back to the father. He appeared on NJ Spotlight News over the weekend and was asked by the host, Uncle Dave, one of my favorites I like to pick on this show, David Cruz, why his son is refusing to appear at a Star Ledger editorial board. Here's a transcript of the answer. Quote, he's got good reason for that. Tom Moran has put things in the paper that are inaccurate, unfair, and he's never been given a chance to answer any of those things. So eventually, if it happens again and again and again, eventually you just give up. He goes on to say, and it's not the Star Ledger, it's not the reporters, it's not the editorial writers, it's one person, it's Tom Moran. And why Tom has been that way, I don't know. It's too bad. It's too bad. Now, Tom goes on to write, I don't pretend that I'd be a picture of calm and rational if someone criticized my daughter, and I still think the world of the former governor. I wrote him a note today about this, and it was polite and respectful. But I have to defend myself, given how personal this was. First, a fact check. And it's interesting about what Tommy likes to fact check. I reach out to Kean Jr. every time I write about him. It's a rule, so it's flatly untrue that Kean Jr. has had no chance to offer his side of every story. I checked this morning and counted 33 emails I sent to the campaign during this campaign and during the 2020 run. Kean never accepted a single invitation to speak with me. Second, where are the factual inaccuracies? I don't pretend to be infallible. Thank God. At least you have some self-awareness, Tommy. I will be happy to print a correction of any factual error. That's another rule. But Governor Kean didn't cite a single one, and Cruz didn't ask him to back that up. Well, it's not David's job to do that. And again, within a 2-minute segment, do you really expect the former governor to go into a dissertation, Tom? I mean, that's not realistic on your part. I emailed Kean Jr.'s campaign today to ask him to point out any errors, but I've not heard back. Well, he's busy campaigning, Tom. I mean, because I'm sorry, I know you feel the world revolves around you and that your emails have to be answered instantaneously. It doesn't work that way, Tommy. Okay, that makes 34. I asked the former governor as well. I feel slimed. Maybe a reference and sort of Tommy showing his age from that great show from the 80s. You can't do that on television, which was very popular on Nickelodeon. but my door remains open. Kane, for the record, is turning down interviews with other New Jersey media, too. He's talked to Fox News and Breitbart, but not to us. Cruz and others, including the New York Times, a liberal cesspool, which we all know it is, have reported on that. John Mooney, NJ Spotlight's founder, posted a tweet noting that Kane Jr. won't speak with his outlet either. And everyone loves John, who suffers from none of my personality flaws. Yeah, like sanctimonious, self-righteous, arrogant, smug, cocky. I get it. I've met John Mooney. He's nothing like you, Tom. Thank the Lord. Anyway, this one stung, I admit it. And if the former governor is mad now, just wait until he reads our endorsement editorial tomorrow. Yikes. Well, again, Tom, it just, it's a reminder of how petty you can be. If people don't answer you the way you want to be answered, when you want to be answered, well, then you get into your little tirades. Anyone care to remember about Esther Suarez, the Delta County prosecutor, right? That little incident at the Liberty House overlooking the Statue of Liberty in downtown Jersey City by the waterfront, right? Where there was some discrepancy between him and the Hudson County prosecutor, right? Well, that got a little ugly too, didn't it? Or other things about Tom Moran. Again, Tom, I'm not trying to take shots at you personally, because we're not perfect. I'm certainly far from perfect, okay? But I'm consistent on this show. Now, to Governor Kane's reference about you not being factually accurate, well, but Tom, you're not, okay? You have your lips so permanently planted on Joe Biden's posterior that it's kind of hard. It might take sort of like the jaws of life to remove them. I mean, you've printed various, and again, you're entitled to print whatever you want. You're an editorialist, but get your facts right. Okay. The Inflation Reduction Act does nothing to reduce inflation. It doesn't. Okay. The numbers are there. Again, and you want to go, again, this fixation you have on the 45th president, folks, he's not on the ballot. As much as Tommy wants to make it out to be, come November the 8th in 5 weeks, you know what's on the ballot, Tommy? Kitchen table issues. Because you make the same mistake that all these other insufferable virtue signalers make in the New Jersey media establishment. You're not the only guilty party. I go after Alan Steinberg, Sleepy Alan, who's just as delusional as you are. Now, again, you're not as old as Alan Steinberg. I mean, he's like in his 90s and clearly cognitively failing us right before our eyes. The guy can't even decide if he's a Yankee or a Met fan. Jesus Christ. Make a decision now. You know what I'm saying? But getting back to Tom, you're not alone in this. David Cruz, again, another propagandist, masquerading as a journalist. And David likes to sort of, portray himself as a down the middle guy or whatever. He leans very left. Okay, so whether it's Paul DeGroot, whether it's Tom Keene Jr., or other Republicans or other conservatives running for any office, whether it's a House seat, whether it's a town council seat, or even a school board seat, what we've learned, ladies and gentlemen, is that conservatives don't get a fair shake, whether here in New Jersey by the liberal media establishment or nationally. Okay? Because while Mikey Sherrill wants to run on abortion, folks, and I'm going to say this again. I'm tired of saying it, but I'm going to say it maybe not for the last time because I'll have to keep saying it because it seems like it doesn't register. For people like Tom Moran or all these abortion hysteria activists, here's a newsflash. Abortion or the right to an abortion is codified under New Jersey law. Okay? So for all these insufferable feminists and cat ladies that stink of capis, you'll know who you are. I mean, I can reference the names here. Plenty of you out to name on social media. Okay? There is no limits on what a woman wants to do if she wants to reconsider her pregnancy in New Jersey. Okay? I'm going to say it again. What the Dobbs decision did in June is simply relegate the decision to the states. Okay? Now, you may not like, now again, that doesn't mean abortion has been made illegal nationally. It has not. The justices in their decision made it very clear. But again, you want to read what you want to read, Tom, and as well as everybody else on the left when it comes to abortion. Okay? It's been codified here in the Garden State. So if a woman wants to reconsider her pregnancy after X amount of weeks, that's her decision. She can do that in New Jersey. Hey, I know it's after Labor Day, it's October, but Sunday fun day, NFL Sundays, right? People go out, or whether it's single girl summer or whatever. Ladies, okay, after a weekend of binge drinking and making a lot of bad decisions, okay, if Monday morning you wake up and you need a plan B after making some very, very bad decisions, right? Who you hook up with, well, guess what? Plan Bs are available in New Jersey. You can go to Planned Parenthood, who gets millions in subsidies from not just Trenton, but the federal government. So if you need a plan B after really bad decision making over Sunday fun day, or even after single girl summer, you can do that in New Jersey, ladies. So stop your bitching and moaning. I'm tired of it. I am sick to death already of it. Okay? A lot of you are just bitching and moaning about not being able to terminate pregnancies in states you don't live in. Whatever Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, or Georgia do when it comes to reproductive rights, that's their business. It's the 10th Amendment. Were some of you idiots asleep during constitutional law class? I wasn't. Okay? I know what the 10th Amendment reads like. Federalism. But you clowns want to keep being insufferable and you're virtue signaling. I get it. It helps raise up money and get donations and create hysteria and register people to vote. Folks, in New Jersey, as well as across the country, abortion's not on the ballot. It's about kitchen table issues. Okay? It's about being able to afford groceries. It's about being able to get to work on one tank of gas. It's about being able to make sure that, you know what, inflation isn't killing your 401ks. Okay? Michael Symons, who is as neutral as it comes as a journalist, even putting it out tonight during the episode. But you want to make it about reproductive justice or reproductive rights or whatever the case may be. Here in New Jersey, folks, that's just not applicable. Okay? But insufferable organizations like Women for Progress, Women for Progress, these do-nothing housewives in Bergen County, for example, or Planned Parenthood, or Make the Road New Jersey, or the New Jersey Alliance for Immigrant Justice, all these insufferable feminists, these insufferable cat ladies that stink of cat piss. I can smell that cat piss all the way up here where I live. Okay? That's how much the stench permeates statewide. Kitchen table issues is what's going to matter on November the 8th. Regardless of how much Mikey Sherrill wants to make it out to be, or Tom Malinowski, or Bill Pascrell, or Frank Pallone, it's about kitchen table issues. And Tom, you're guilty of that because you perpetuate the hysteria too. Okay? Making out the president to be greater than he is. He isn't. Okay? I don't care what polling says. Polling is about as reliable as Stevie Wonder driving. Okay? I get it. You're entitled to your opinion. You write editorials. Okay? We'll see how great the president is in campaigning for candidates with 5 weeks to go. But again, if you want to wonder why conservatives and Republicans don't want to talk to you or other liberals in the media, is because they know they're not going to get a fair shake because you're going to twist it around and make it about abortion or January 6th. Again, you have this perpetual hard-on about January 6th. Hey, Tommy, were you as outraged in the summer of 2020 when Antifa and, more importantly, all these Black Lives Matters degenerates were trying to storm the White House lawn on Pennsylvania Avenue, where they injured multiple Secret Service agents as they were trying to make sure that BLM rioters weren't trying to cross-pick, guardrails and go towards the White House during the summer of love? Did you have an outrage about that? Of course not. That conveniently didn't go on your radar. But you keep bitching and moaning about January 6th, just like Alan Steinberg does, just like David Cruz does, just like Charles Stiles does, and all these other left-wing clowns masquerading as journalists. And we all know they're propagandists. Tommy, you fit that bill as well. You need to own that label, bro. And that's the problem. You lack self-awareness. So when you wonder why conservatives and Republicans don't want to talk to you, is because you perpetuate the same leftist narrative that all your colleagues do. Okay? Why can't you be someone honorable like Paul Mulshine, a guy who writes for the Star Ledger, who I've had on this show, who will gladly talk to me? Again, the invitation's there, Tommy. If you want to come on this show and debate me about where you get it wrong, I'm happy to have you on. I've emailed you. Okay? Now, if you want to answer my emails, that's your business. But the invitation's there. So for anyone that wants to tag him on this post, let him know. You're more than welcome to come on this show, Tom. But I'm going to hold you accountable because other people in New Jersey media don't do that. So when we think about clowns and what you do as a clown show, folks, look no further than this week's winner of the worst journalist in New Jersey. It's always Tom Moran, as well as many others. I decided to give Jay Lassiter a break, Alan Steinberg a break, Max Pizarro a break, Charles Stahl a break, Bob Henley a break. I decided to give him a break. But again, I want to give the honor this week to Tommy Boy, Tom Moran, because again, when I think of Tom Moran, let's be honest, this is what I see, and I know so does everybody else. Folks, again, before we call it a night here, I want to give a special dedication here before we end the show to a wonderful woman, fan of the show. This broke my heart last week, learning of her passing, Lourdes Lorenzo, fan of the program, who would make it a point to share episodes of Real Talk and any of my media brand for some time. A good friend of the family, a very honorable woman, a very decent woman who, made it a point to always not just send compliments my way, but just to sort of reassure me, hey, Fernando, you're doing good things. Look how you've risen in New Jersey media. Look at the good job you're doing by representing us regular people that care about everyday issues, kitchen table issues, or everyday issues that matter to the common man. You're not part of the liberal media elite in New Jersey. They don't subscribe to the woke nonsense about pronouns or bathrooms or statues triggering people. No, you always were very kind to me. You're always very kind to compliment this show and to share it when possible on your own social media, and to learn of your passing last week. I mean, my heart goes out to her family. Good, very decent people. If you had a chance to go to the Mancuso funeral home last week in Cliffside Park, I mean, what a turnout for her. And my heart goes out to her husband, her son, her children, her family, who they lost an amazing woman last week. And to you, Lourdes, whether it's people like you or others that have supported this show, that have been just so complimentary to me, people that I've lost during COVID, fans of the show that would write to me and say, Fernando, keep up the good work. You're representing us. You're not being one of these garbage humans that are evoking this left-wing propaganda, trying to masquerade it as journalism. And we all know who they are. I call them out all the time. Garbage human beings like Jay Lasseter and Alan Steinberg and Max Pizarro and even Pete O'Nelia, who only seems to be concerned about making money instead of sort of putting on neutral, content when it comes to journalism, or Robert Hennelly or Charles Style, all these left-wing propagandists who are just conduct themselves like garbage human beings for what they peddle. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And it's why I fight so hard for people like Lourdes and others that are still around, and maybe others that have passed, that have made a point to compliment me and say, Fernando, don't give up the fight. Keep fighting. Keep being righteous. Keep doing the right thing. Keep doing good. It's because of you, Lourdes, and all of you out there, some that are still around and some that we've lost, that it's why I fight so hard to stand up against the left in New Jersey, to stand up to all the woke nonsense that's permeating our journalism, both in print media, even online media, and even in social media. You have propagandists masquerading as journalists. Well, I'm not one of them, but I'm going to continue to fight against all of you. Why? Because you deserve to be called out for what you peddle, and that's garbage. Because garbage humans peddle garbage journalism. So that's why, in her honor, in the honor of everybody else who stands by this show, who supports this show, who has shown support for me and has shown love for me, I'm going to continue to fight for you. I'm going to continue to speak out about issues that matter to everyday people, things that matter at the kitchen table. That's what I'm going to fight for. And I'm not going to shut up. And I'm not going to go away quietly. So again, to Alan Steinberg, to Max Pizarro, to Jay Lasseter, to Bob Hennelly, okay, to everybody else, Charles Style, everybody else in the liberal media establishment, I'm going to continue fighting, because you can't silence me. You're not going to shut me up, and you're not going to get rid of me, because everybody knows, all the aforementioned, you don't have the balls to get rid of me. You don't have them, folks, but I got them to make sure that I call all of you out every single week. And I get it. Some of you are in your 90s, in your 70s, in your late 60s, and you don't know any better. But I know better. And I know better than to make sure that I call all of you out. And I stand up for regular, good, law-abiding citizens, good human beings like Lourdes Lorenzo and others that have left us, and others that are still around that write to me privately and say, Fernando, keep representing us. Keep standing up for what's right. Keep standing up for good conservative values, for good economic principles, for being intellectually honest. Thank you for standing up for us, because we can't stand up for ourselves. Man, that hit home for me. So when her passing happened last week, and others that I've learned over the years, classmates that I went to college with, high school and college with, that watch my media brand and say, Fernando, man, good for you, bro. Keep speaking up. Keep speaking for me, man. You got that voice. You've got that vision. You got that set of you-know-what on you to keep fighting, to keep calling out the left in New Jersey. I'm going to keep doing it, especially to all of those I just called out tonight. Again, you're not going to get rid of me. You're not going to cancel me, and you're not going to silence me. I'm going to keep fighting the way I know how to, and that's to take it to you. I get it, folks. I'm not the nicest guy in the world when I do it. I'm not the classiest guy in the world to do it, but I'm not here to be nice. I'm not here to be respectful. I'm here to get results and to make sure that I stand up for you, my loyal viewing audience, people that respect Jersey First TV, people that tune into this show, that give me good traffic, not a couple hundred views like some of these Mickey Mouse journalists that do YouTube videos. No. Nada de esa basura. No, eso basura. Ellos son basura. What I give you is good organic traffic, good content, good intellectually honest content, not like the clowns I just mentioned. So for Lourdes and for everybody else, I'm going to keep fighting for you. I'm going to keep fighting for you because you deserve it. You stood for me. You stood by me. I'm going to stand by you, and I'm going to stand up for you. And that's something that's never going to go away on this show. So for anyone who doesn't like it, you're not going to cancel me. You're not going to silence me. And you're not going to shut me up. I'm going to keep talking and talking and talking until someone shuts me up. And guess what? Here's a spoiler alert. That's not going to happen. And that's our show for this week. Once again, I want to thank Michael Symons, the Statehouse Bureau Chief, for NJ 101.5 FM, for an excellent conversation today on the political climate, his exceptional journalism, and really what's going on in the House races here in New Jersey, folks. I can't say enough about, again, the respect I have for Michael Symons and his brand of exceptional award-winning journalism. So check it out if you just tuned in now, www.jerseyfirsttv.org. That's jerseyfirst.org/TV/Real Talk with Fernando Uribe. Folks, special programming note, I will be filming a candidates forum later this week on Jersey First TV. It will air later next week. Got some great candidates to interview. We'll be pre-recording it. It'll be aired next week here on Jersey First TV. Folks, as a reminder, October, as you can see, is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Here at Jersey First TV, we're proud to stand with Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and of course, me personally, with the American Cancer Society and Making Strides Against Breast Cancer. Again, mark it on your calendars, Thursday, October 13th at Son Cubano for a Professor's Quest to Save Breast. Again, I'll be rocking pink all throughout the month of October because breast cancer, hey, it's a serious issue. Let's make sure we do our part to defeat breast cancer once and for all. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, if it's unbiased, unfiltered, and unafraid, it's always real talk right here with Jersey First TV. I am New Jersey's premier and now 7-time, yes, that's right, folks, for all the haters, again, listen to it again, 7-time award-winning journalist, top 100 Latino via the Latino Spirit online magazine, and of course, the Garden State's most beloved and factually accurate Hispanic commentator. Yes, it's me, Fernando Uribe, folks, saying so long. Let's go Cowboys as we continue on 3-1. Eagles better be ready. We're coming for you in 2 weeks there. Folks, let's go Yankees as we begin October in the baseball playoffs. As always, please party responsibly. And most importantly, most of all, thank you so much for watching.